Hi guys, in this video we're going to learn how to standardize our data. So before watching this video, make sure that you watch the module 2 lecture 3.1, the theory part, where I explain what is standardization and the mathematical formula of standardization. As I mentioned in my module 2 lecture 3.1, there are two ways you can standardize the data in Excel. One is the manual part, where you just write down your formula in Excel and calculate the uh, rescale the data or standardize the data. And then there is another option. Excel has built-in function which you can use to standardize the data. The function known as standardize function. So first I will use the manual part, where I will write down the formula in Excel uh, spreadsheet, and we're gonna standardize the data, and then we will use the built-in function to standardize the data again. So we're gonna use both ways to rescale our data. So first of all, I need to insert one column. Remember, we need to calculate first we need to calculate the mean of each column and the standard deviation. Now first of all, I need to calculate the mean, which is mainly the average value. Okay, so I'm going to calculate the mean for all three columns. So first I'm going to start with the household income column, and I'm going to select the data from row 2 to row 31. We have 37. Close the parenthesis, enter. So that's the mean household income, 85,166. Then I need the standard deviation. You need to write equal STDEV, and you will see different kinds of standard deviation. We're going to select standard deviation dot P, the population one, and again we're going to select from row 2 to row 31. Close the parenthesis, enter. So that's my standard deviation for household income, which is 50,203. Now we need the mean and standard deviation for all three columns, because we would like to standardize all three columns. So one way to do that, you just select the mean, drag towards your right side, and you can get mean values for age and mean values for gender. So our mean age is 60, and for gender column mean is 1. Again, we're going to calculate the same way. Drag the standard deviation formula to the right, and we can get the standard deviation for column age and gender also. So once we are done, we're going to select the title of each columns. Okay, and we're going to start with the household income first. First, we would like to standardize the household income data. So we're going to use the formula, which is household income will be rescaled. So formula for the standardization is the x, which is my value, which I want to rescale, okay, minus mean, that is my mean, divided by the sigma, that is my standard deviation, enter. So I have I rescale the first data under household income column. Now I don't want to write the formula for each cell under household income column. So what do I need to do? As I go as I go down each cells, the x value will change, but the mean and standard deviation is not gonna change. So I'm gonna use the dollar sign. The dollar sign before letter, dollar sign before number for mean. Again, same for the standard deviation. Means that as we move down, the mean and standard deviation value will not change. Okay, so enter. So now I can use this formula, drag down and get the rescale values, all the rescale values under household income column. Okay. Now remember, the main properties of standardized data is that once we rescale the data, the mean should be 0 and the standard deviation should be equals to 1. Okay, so we need to check it to make sure that we have written our formula correctly. So what I'm going to do, just like before, I'm going to drag my mean formula to the right to check, and you can see the mean value is 0. Good. And if the standard deviation equals to 1, so again I'm going to use the standard deviation formula, drag to the right. So I got my standard deviation 1, which means I have written the formula correctly and I have correctly rescaled the data. Now next is age. So I want to also rescale this value, all the values under the column age. So I'm going to start with equal sign. Again, x is my value which I want to rescale, minus my mean. So mean is 60. For 60 years of age is the average, and divided by standard deviation, which is 13. Enter. Again, I don't want to calculate formula for each cell, so we need the dollar sign to keep my mean and standard deviation constant. Enter. So I have the formula ready. I'm going to drag down and rescale all the data under the column H. Okay. Again, we need to check it. We need to make sure my mean is 0 and the standard deviation is 1. Not necessarily it should be exactly equals to 0 and 1. It will be around 0 and 1. Okay. So don't be panic if it is not exactly equals to 0 or exactly equals to 1. As long as those are close to 0 and 1, you're fine. So again, as I would like to check the mean, so I'm gonna select the mean formula and drag to the right. 0, that's good. Standard deviation 1, that's good. So that means I have written all the formulas correctly. Now remember, for the gender is a dummy variable which ranges from 0 and 1. So dummy variable can only take two values, 0 or 1. So do I need to standardize any dummy variable or binary variable? The answer is no. You don't need to standardize dummy variable. Just like the normalization, if you have any variable which is dummy variable or binary variable, we do not need to standardize. We just need to copy paste the value we have. Okay, I'm going to copy paste the value here. So that's the way. If we use manual way to enter or write the formula in Excel and calculate the rescale the data or standardize the data. Now let's try the built-in function in Excel to standardize the data. So I'm gonna again copy paste the title of those columns. Start with household. So we would like to standardize. As soon as you write STA, you will get standardized. Okay. So you want to standardize which value? So I'm going to start with the household income. So this is my X, and comma, they want the mean value. So comma, mean value, which is 85,166. Then they want the standard deviation, comma, the standard deviation is 50,203. Close the parenthesis, enter. You can see that you have the same number. Okay. So again, you need, I don't want to calculate this formula for every cell. So use the dollar sign here. And calculate all the data using the built-in function. Okay. Again, if you want to check the mean, it is 0, and the standard deviation, it is 1. Now let's try this built-in function for each column. So equal sign standardize st. So this is my standardized function. We need to first declare my x value, which is 72, comma, my mean value, which is 60, and then comma, I need my standard deviation value, which is 13. Close the parenthesis. So we have the same value. Now we want to calculate or rescale the data, all the data under column H. So we need again this dollar sign for mean and the standard deviation. And enter. So I'm going to drag down to rescale all the data under column H. And again, you will see that it's going to give you same 0 mean and 1 standard deviation. So again, even if you are using built-in function, remember that if you have the binary variable or dummy variable, we do not calculate, we do not standardize the dummy variable or binary variable. So we have gender here, which is binary or dummy variable, which takes value 0 and 1. So we are not gonna standardize this variable. So we just need to copy the values here. So again, there are two ways to calculate or rescale the data. One is you can just write down your formula in Excel and calculate, or you can use built-in function, which is a standardized function, to standardize the data. Okay. Again, remember that whichever formula you are using, if you have binary variable or dummy variable, we do not standardize the data, means that we do not rescale the data. And make sure once you standardize the data, you cross-check your numbers. So one way to do that is to find out the mean values and standard deviation. Always, once you finish your once you rescale the data, your mean should be 0 and standard deviation should be 1. So once you standardize the data, always make sure you check the column and make sure that you have mean 0 or close to 0 and standard deviation 1 or close to 1. So that's it in this video. Thank you.